So I am working to get art for my office. And I like, nerdy things, but I also don't want it to be like, oh, you're walking and here's an Iron Man picture, like, in your face, right?
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're celebrating the home box office. Mike.
Home box office. So I feel like I haven't seen those three words spelled out like that in a while.
I get you. Probably only half of our audience is gonna know what that means, but we'll get into it here in a little bit. I'm really surprised at this next one that Kate Bishop is the most trending Avenger right now.
Yeah, it's surprising. And she's these young Avengers. They're up and coming.
They're up and coming, and she's very, very close to a current Avenger. Like there's like nothing distinguishing her that I can think of about it. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. Star Wars takes a leaked detour, and more.
Yeah, this is usually we're pretty warmed up for the podcast, but we kind of we cut the chit chat. We started recording this thing right off the top of the recording session. So we're hot, we're fresh. I'm drinking this Mountain Dew Spark. This is something that you sent me in the mail, Chris. Yeah. We left this out of the Quarren Feast the other week. So now I'm not going to be as caffeinated as I was for the 300th episode because the Mountain Dew just doesn't go that crazy with their caffeine anymore. I will tell you, I had a listener of the show, Jason, reach out and say that the energy drink Bang has 300 milligrals of caffeine. Ooh,
so for 300 episode, we could have done the Bang. I drink this one. It's actually a all natural kind of energy drink by this workout company called Alani Nu. It's just recently hit Target and Kroger in our area. But I'll drink one of those every morning. They have a lot of caffeine, but it's supposedly healthier because it's like a workout energy drink. I don't know the difference.
No, it's so funny. I feel like if we were to truly demystify like all kind of energy caffeinated drinks, it's just like there's a giant warehouse somewhere that just orders bulk crates of like powdered caffeine, and they're just like, what flavors are we going to mix this with, and how are we going to sell it? I feel like all the R&D is going into the marketing department.
It's something red and something blue, and then if you're lucky, they'll release a purple mixture down the road.
I feel like I'm an old man now that's trying to keep up with the trends. So like I'm not streaming myself over on Twitch, but I'm just trying to get a handle on what Twitch is, how people use it, what are the norms and stuff. So I've been trying to follow some people on Twitch, trying to check them out, when they're streaming. Shout out to friend of the show, Quentin Parker, who goes by the name Bougie Q. He's streaming a whole lot of Apex Legends. And yeah, I hate to say this because I don't want to inflate his ego because he's a very competitive guy, but he seems very, very good. Like he's he's a lot better at first person shooters than I am. One, mainly because he's on a PC. Because once you have that mouse control, you're automatically going to be better than somebody with a controller. And he also does like the aim lab stuff too. But the only reason I bring this up, I feel like half of the people I watch on Twitch are like sponsored by like an energy drink. So there you go. That's the marketing arm of it. Funding a lot of Twitch creators' wallets.
Yeah. We support him. We'll sponsor him with a shout out. Here's your shout out, Quentin. Enjoy. Hope you get some viewers on your Twitch. He does. I mean, we've played with him before on his Twitch stream whenever we do some Call of Duty occasionally. So.
Yeah, he's coming back around. This is a funny thing. It used to be all about how your friends were siloed by their consoles, right? Whatever their parents were able to get them at the store, whatever they saved up for at their part-time job when they were a kid, what consoles that they had. Very rarely were you lucky enough to have two, and usually you bought what your friend bought so you could kind of play the same stuff. But now it's different with crossplay being enabled. Now it's more just kind of what ecosystem are you connected to? Like, you play a lot of Fortnite, he plays a lot of Apex. I don't really play a lot of anything, but the thing that I do play is Warzone. Yeah. So it is just kind of funny. It's just like they're all shooters, right? I mean, I guess Fortnite is the most unique because it's third person and it has a building aspect to it. But it's just like we're all just shooting people. It's just funny how we all can't quite get on the same page.
On the same free to play game that's out there. Mm-hmm. That's that.
It doesn't even cost us money.
Yeah, right. I mean, we can't even figure it out. I mean, this week, I mean, just to touch on Fortnite before we jump into some other stuff, there was the Marvel season ended with the Galactus event, and I was able to take part of that. And you said you caught a watch of it on.
No, I haven't had a chance to check it out. But the first question I asked you when you said it was over, I was like, how big did they make Galactus? Did they shrink him down to a shootable size, or was he big? And you were just like you could run up his arms, and it felt like you were in a trench. So I got a very good idea of how big he actually was just on that description.
Well, and the worst part is I didn't even say you're not running; you're actually driving a bus up his arms, like in the trench. So like it's probably a little bit bigger than you thought, but it did have some interactive parts where it was like an on rail shooter and stuff like that. And
I was happy to see that. I don't have a whole lot of buy-in for Fortnite in general, but I do like how they kept him big because that's how most of the time his grandiose power is displayed in Marvel comic books is the size, the scale. He's huge.
And they tease him being huge, and then it was this one event, and then it was done, and it was pretty awesome. But the new character, speaking of, is actually Kratos from God of War. You can get. So I'm playing this PlayStation exclusive character in Fortnite on my Xbox now, which is wild to think of. I'm like, this Fortnite has transcended platforms and genres altogether. So I'm very excited for that. But that's what I've been doing. I mean, hopefully we can do some more gaming with everybody this holiday season when we're sitting at home being safe and not catching things because people are getting locked down again, Mike. So we gotta do this.
Yeah, it's getting bad out here in California, so maybe I will need to pre-order Cyberpunk so I have something to do when I'm stuck inside.
I did, and I don't know what I'm getting myself into. So if anyone else is excited for Cyberpunk, shoot me a message and tell me what I should expect before we get in there. On that note, though, it is the time to stream holiday movies, Mike, and other stuff here. And I believe, judging by the names, that maybe your 3 are holiday related. It looks like.
Yeah. Okay. So we got some holiday stuff going on here. So speaking of things, that you're completely unprepared for, Hulu just added this new movie called Happiest Season, and of course my wife demanded that we watch it because Dan Levy is in it, the creator and one of the co-stars of Schitt's Creek, one of her favorite shows. So I saw that Kristen Stewart also stars in it, and there's some other people as well. It's kind of like a family holiday movie, or no, a holiday movie with a family in it. It might be family friendly. I'm not 100% sure. But it was pretty fun. I was actually pleasantly surprised. It kind of has a Meet the Parents vibe where kind of Kristen Stewart is playing the Ben Stiller-esque character, but it's more of a dramedy, right? There's definitely laughs in it. There are some laugh out loud moments, some really good jokes that I liked. But it does have like this drama side to it too. But I think Happiest Season is strong enough, I think, to put in the rotation, which I think is a pretty good recommendation for a holiday movie. My wife did something pretty cool this year where she got a jar and she wrote down all of our favorite holiday movies and we put them in the jar. So now we shake up the jar and we just pull what we want to watch. But of course we keep it loose. We keep it free. If there's something we have to watch and we don't want to wait to pick it out of the jar, we just watch it. So I told her after the movie was over, I was like, yeah, I think this could be a jar movie. So if you have Hulu, go check out Happiest Season. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by that one. Okay. And then next up, we got The Holiday Movies That Made Us. This might sound familiar. It's over on Netflix because I believe they have, another season of this just called The Movies That Made Us, I think is what it's called. Chris, are you familiar with this at all?
Yeah, I've heard of a couple of them, like... there's like the toys that made us. They go through a whole bunch of genres of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of almost like if you're back in the day, if you remember that VH1 TV show where they just went over a decade for like an hour long. It kind of has like a similar vibe to that. But this is but they have only 2 episodes. I don't know if they're going to be adding more. Sometimes Netflix does weekly ads. I don't think that's the case, but they have like these kind of like little 40-minute documentaries on the movie Elf and the movie The Nightmare Before Christmas. And I just wanted to say, like, maybe don't waste your time with these. This is almost kind of like a PSA of, I can't stand the editing style of this. No one who gets interviewed in these documentaries ever gets a chance to finish their sentence. It's almost like the producer of the show decided, we want to cut everybody off mid-sentence and then have the narrator finish saying what they're saying. And then we're going to cram in a bunch of these really cheesy, cringy jokes, and then we're going to manipulate some drama that doesn't actually exist. And it's just really hard to watch. But at the same time, one thing that is nice about it is I don't know if this is just because they couldn't get the big name people to do these little documentaries. They end up getting a lot of the smaller people that worked on the film, like costume designers or set designers or like, lead animators and stuff like that. So I liked seeing those people's kind of opinions and stories when they worked on these movies. So that was kind of nice. But the whole time I was watching these things, I just kept thinking, man, an independent YouTuber could do a better job, doing a rundown for how these movies were made than this like high-end production that's on Netflix. So I felt vindicated when I looked this up that some other people had similar feelings to me. So, I mean, if you can, I don't know, this might be a good thing to just have on the background when you're on your phone.
Well, I think from my understanding, I saw actually a more about the movie Elf, like, just kind of, it felt like bonus features, but like amateur bonus feature info you learn, like, again, to give it away because Mike said you should watch this or pay attention, but like they wanted Chris Farley instead of Will Ferrell. Like this movie, they filmed in like an abandoned mental hospital kind of thing. Like I think that's fine, but at the same time, like, this feels like content that's being created in like a shutdown mode by like, hey, editors, do you have any ideas? Oh, we found these bonus features and behind the scenes footage of Elf or The Nightmare Before Christmas that we can get the rights to. Throw something together. Yeah, is what it feels like.
That could be a possibility. And the whole thing is a little confusing because I never saw the quote unquote first season of this, but I think in the movies that made us, there are a couple episodes that revolve around Christmas movies. Like I think Home Alone might be in that first season. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But if you want to redeem Netflix from this very kind of bizarre kind of small documentary that they're making over there, they have this other show that we just started watching called The Repair Shop, which is just very, very nice, very calm, very soothing. It's just about this like repair shop over in the UK. I don't know exactly where it is. And it's very stagey. It's very set up, I have no illusions that people are walking into this place like an iFixit, having people fix their phone. They schedule these people to show up with these heirloom objects. And then the people that work on the show fix their things. So, for example, there's this woman who had like this really old butter churner that she grew up with, and now it's faded. It doesn't work anymore. But she'd like to have it fixed up so she can show her kids and she can be transported back to when she was a kid. So she just shows up with this butter churner, and then all of these handcraft experts who know everything about making like little barrels or painting like letters and stuff like that, just like all just like kind of glom onto this project, and they fix it up and they make it look perfect. There's this another thing where they fixed like this pocket watch that survived like an internment camp in World War II, and they opened it up and they had to like do like micron thin painting for the numbers that had faded, but they still tried to keep the original like patina of it. So it's just really it's very like soothing, it's calm, it's very feel good. These people have these really nice emotional reactions when they come back at the end of the episode and they see their item has been fixed. So it's not quite Christmas related, the Repair Shop, but if you want some good feel good stuff, I would go check it out. I think I'm a little late to the party here. I think there might be a couple seasons of this already, and I don't know if it's a Netflix original or if they just license it or what's going on, but the Repair Shop over on Netflix, I had a great time with it.
It reminds me of you remember Antiques Roadshow, but like maybe people who like, oh, we have something here, we need to get it cleaned up first before we can figure out how much it costs, kind of thing.
Yeah,
but without the actual price to it, kind of at the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if the show's paying for this stuff or they just get a discount because they agree to come on TV, but my wife really likes the idea of rehabbing old stuff and making it new again, and we tried to dabble around some streaming services with some kind of repair pawn shop content content that they have. And there's this one awful show where they bring on like 2 contestants and they go through a flea market and they try to buy some stuff, and then they try to like upcycle it to sell it like at a swap meet, and it was just awful. It was dumb. We hated it. So we were looking for something that could fill that void, and this was it, because they're experts, right? There's like a Louis Vuitton trunk that comes in, and the expert that fixes it knows everything about trunks, knows the whole history of trunks from the day that they were invented to where they are now. They know all the intricacies of the rivets and how to repair and make leather and stuff like that. So if you're just looking for something to like really kind of calm you down and focus, I would highly recommend The Repair Shop, because the holiday movies that make us is frenetic and will give you a headache. So maybe you watch that first and you come down with The Repair Shop. But that's what's been happening over at my QuaranStream. You know, I'll save you all the other holiday movies we've been watching, because we've been watching 1 or 2 a night. So that's what I've been up to, Chris. How about you?
Well, I went down and was doing, what was I doing yesterday? There was something I was doing. I remember I was like, I'm going to be in the kitchen for a minute. So let's put on a Christmas movie that I don't really have to watch, because I've seen it so many times. And I was able to get a 1080 high-def version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. The old Rankin Bass stop-motion animation film, right? This movie does not hold up. The more I sat and listened to it, like at one point, Rudolph's dad and his mom, like, well, he's like, I'm going to go out and find my son who's run away, right? And she's like, I'm going to go with you. And he's like, no, this is a man's job. And I'm like, oh, that would not go over well today. And like, you know, just a horrible, like the references are just of its era. And I can try to forgive it, but I'm just like, oh, it hurts.
Yeah, it's like total nostalgic charm. I was just having this conversation yesterday, and my wife was saying, what's the worst Christmas song out there in existence? Because everybody online is arguing and saying it's this song called Christmas Shoes or whatever.
Christmas Shoes, yeah.
I've never heard that song before, actually, so I pulled it up, and I was like, oh, God, this is a bad song. But then I started to think about it, and I was like, well, if I had to pick, it would probably be the very overtly, like, Christian Christmas songs, the ones that talk a lot about baby Jesus and stuff like that. But at the same time, if you grew up listening to those songs, they're just engraved in the back of your brain, right?
Yeah.
So when you hear them, you don't just think Christmas, you feel Christmas, whether you believe or you like that stuff or not. So yeah, even though Rudolph has like totally kind of aged out of its pop culture references, when you watch it, it still feels like Christmas.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And like, I don't have anything wrong with it. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, we need to cancel Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, right? Like, this is one of the movies. It just needs a disclaimer, because at one point, like, Rudolph, his nose comes off and he's red and happy, and Santa's like, Donner, I'm ashamed of you. I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, he can't pick his kids. Like, this is all about a movie about acceptance at the end of it, but like, it takes a beating to get there. I'm like, this feels like 1960s, but it's still charming. I love, you know, I can't think of the guy who does the snowman now, but I was thinking of it. That he sings the songs and is the narrator. I love it. It's fun. Bumbles bounce. So I'm not saying we need to stop watching it, but I'd take an updated version.
I would probably be flogged for at least not bringing it up, since we just talked about it. But in that holiday movies that made us, the episode where they talk about Elf, they talk a lot about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Rankin Bass. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Rankin Bass.
Rankin Bass. Yeah,
Rankin Bass. They talk a lot about that stuff. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, like I said, like I know I didn't recommend it, but there's not a whole lot to watch out there just yet. You know, Wonder Woman isn't out yet, so
yeah. So there's that. And then the other thing I've taken upon myself, I'm trying so goddamn hard to watch the X-Files, Mike.
Yeah.
It is not going well for me. I need to work a little harder on this. It's nothing against it. I'm just like, this is an hour-long show of the early 90s. I know the theme song before I know the rest of the episode, so I'm just trying to find some time to focus on it, but I'm working on it. So if anyone has any, I don't need a watch list, but like, I don't know. Like, what's the draw? What am I missing here that's not pulling me in?
So I've kind of had a similar thought that I think maybe you're kind of floating around, is that, like, no one's saying the X-Files is a bad show, but if the show had never existed in the 90s and came out exactly as it was today, I don't think it would be a success, just because of all of the competition out there in the marketplace. You know, the further you go back in time, the less options and the less content that there was. So when you get something like an X-Files, you get more time to sit with it, right? It's like, oh, do I watch the X-Files, or I don't know what night it came on, or do I switch on over to 60 Minutes and watch that? Because there's no DVRs exist. I think when X-Files started to come out, I don't even think there was DVDs yet either. So it's just like, what do you don't have much to pick from, so you might as well just get very, very focused and interested and committed to these actors and these characters. So we're just not in that type of landscape anymore. So if you've never really watched the X-Files before, you have no nostalgia or connection to it, and you're going into it fresh-eyed, doughy-eyed, what's really going to sink your hooks into you,
Exactly. And I really, really like Twin Peaks, which I feel is like kind of in the same vein, like really sci-fi, mystery, hour-long stuff that's quirky, there's nothing like it, but at the same time, it's not like, I've got other things I could go do or watch because, we now have a choice where I think we're oversaturated on stuff to watch at this point. I feel behind on a lot of things, but, so I mean, I'm trying to do it, but I'm like, this could be like maybe my nighttime before bed wind down show. So, I'm trying, Mike. I'm trying.
Well, I appreciate the effort.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you brought up a good point here. We're not at a point where we're getting the new quality content yet, but we're going to be getting some quality content. And with that, we're going to talk about Warner Brothers.
Ooh, this was a shocker.
Warner Brothers pulled the rug out from underneath this week and announced that every one of their 2021 films, I think there's maybe 12 to 15 of them, will release simultaneously in theaters and on HBO Max the same day.
This was shocking because I was in the waiting room for the dentist office. I had just got out of my dentist appointment. I just got my new card to remind me for my new appointment. I believe it's in June next year. I opened up Twitter and I was like, what? Hold on, I need to sit down. I need to take this in. Mm-hmm. And this is like, the first thing I thought of was like, this is a shot across the bow. This is the first time I feel like it's ever felt like a streaming war. Even though I really feel like they're not fighting each other, they're just kind of fighting the ongoing pandemic. Yeah. No one was expecting the new challenger in the streaming war was a pandemic.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, okay, so like there's some caveats here, that we'll talk about in a minute. But like HBO Max has has an advantage. Again, its parent company is Warner Brothers, and it probably has a pretty large budget. If I was a guessing man, right? Like, because it's borrowing like this HBO originals budget. So they're like, how can we maybe take this budget and get more subscribers for our service this year? The interesting caveat is each movie will have a 4-week or 1 month period that this movie is on HBO Max before reverting back to only theaters or VOD or paid, right? Like paid options. Which makes me think, if I looked at the schedule right, that is at least 1, maybe 2 movies a month. That means you are not going to be able to, if you want to watch the next one, you're not going to cancel your subscription that year, right? You're going to hold it all year long because you get all these theatrically quality movies right to your streaming service.
And it does beg the question, what is the point of the month-long delay for theaters? Who's gonna wait a month to go see, Godzilla versus King Kong in the theater when they could just watch it at home? Now, you could make the argument, I want to see the big creatures on a big screen, but people aren't going to want to wait. They're going to want to be in the zeitgeist. They're going to want to be in the know. I think the other unknown part about this equation is how much money are the theaters getting from Warner Brothers for doing this? Because I believe legally that has to be done. Like, they can't just put these movies straight to their streaming service when they were destined for the theater to begin with. So I think this is kind of similar to that AMC deal that happened a few months ago. I believe they're going to be getting some back in on these Warner Brothers stuff, but the streaming aspect of it is huge. If you're a subscriber, you're not going anywhere.
Right. Well, that the other thing is, it's also, I think it's not related to the movie theaters. I think it's going to the producers, not the theaters, because AMC threw a goddamn fit over this. Apparently, the president, he's like, "Well, you're ruining the movie-going experience." Well, I mean, this is a unique time; it requires a unique solution, right? And they're not also completely cutting theaters out, because around the globe, theaters are opening up, right? And hopefully here, sooner than later. So, like in the latter half of next year, if it's safe to go to the theater, you can stay at home or go to the theater, right? Like, there's not going to be... You can have the competing ideologies without the delay. So I think this is a really, really interesting kind of deal what's going on here, and I'm very on board with it. I hate to say it like that because I love going to the movie theaters, but I really, really am excited for this adventure, Mike.
Yeah, well, if we are to trust the timelines that we've been given, at least here in the United States, they say everybody who wants a vaccine for COVID-19 should be able to have one by June. Let's give that a couple months of wiggle room depending on how things go. I mean, like the movie theaters, they can't plan for the second half of 2021. How much revenue could they possibly miss by going a whole 2 quarters without getting stuff into theaters? I think this makes sense for them to make this strategy. The big question is it going to stick around, right? I've seen some people say, why on earth would they build up all of this goodwill for a whole year and then take it away after a year, right? If this is indeed a strategy not just to keep subscribers, but to grow and gain new subscribers, take somebody out of the know, Chris. We are very, very familiar with how streaming services work. The windows for how things are negotiated for movies. Why is Home Alone on Disney Plus right now, but it won't be on Disney Plus, after December? We know these things. But, if I think of somebody like my parents or maybe like an aunt or an uncle, right, that are just like, oh, wow, look at all these big movies. I got to get HBO Max. Then 2022 rolls around. And they're like, wait, why can't I watch this on my streaming service? That could be an issue for them. That could ruin some goodwill. But, are you worried? Are you worried that these people are going to have animosity in 2022, or more than likely, are they just going to be lazy and they're not going to cancel because there'll be other stuff to watch there as well? I wager on the side of always disappointment. Corporations have disappointed us our entire lives, so I would not be shocked if when 2022 rolls around, they just go back to the status quo.
The current deal is only for 2021 from the CEO of Warner Brothers / HBO Max, whoever it was. So there's currently no movies on 2022 on that list, and that includes I believe Shazam 2 right now and Batman and a couple other movies. So I very much per the rules they're going to do it, but what does 12 months look like even? Where are we in 12 months ago we didn't ever guess we were here at this rate. So what does it even look like? So
I'd love to see the ledger. I'd love to see the math of how they decide at what point does this become breaking even? At what point does this become so profitable we should keep it moving forward, right? Because it's you have to do different types of math, right? We're gaining sustaining subscribers, right? This person might be giving us $15 a month for the next 5 years, and that's worth a lot more than whatever box office breaking numbers we could get for this big blockbuster film.
Well, some people may, I will tell you right now, if I sat down some people I know or my wife's family specifically and said, which one of these movies would you pay to go see in a theater versus what would you wait and watch on a streaming service, they might see one of these movies. Their value, if they had the subscription service for the year, is way higher. Or 2 months is way higher than if they went to the movie theater once, I guess. Because if you think of the money going directly to HBO, which would be pretty much all of it at that point, or Warner, rather than half of a movie ticket or whatever. So I think there's a lot, like you said, the math is way different. It's not one movie ticket versus one subscription anymore. It's lifetime value versus how much percentage are we getting that's more than what we would have gotten. And they're also doing both. That's the other thing. They're not just doing online, they're doing both. So they get to dip their hands in both pots like the Sticky Bandits would from Home Alone 2.
Yeah, but let's talk about this slate here real quick. I was pretty happy to see Godzilla vs. King Kong on here just because we mentioned last week I hadn't seen any of these movies before, and there's a reason why, because I just don't feel compelled to go to the movie theaters to watch these films, even though they're big creatures and it might be fun to see them on a big screen. But this is great. This is going to be in my home. I can just sit down and watch them. I know, Chris, that you have given me the ability to watch the other 3 films in this series from the comfort of my own home, but I wouldn't be be surprised if maybe how these streaming rights go. Seems like HBO might like to have those movies back so they can kind of present you with this awesome like 4-movie playlist when that movie comes out.
You know they're not going to. Every time a movie comes to theater that has a sequel, they immediately pull it back and make you pay
this
them.
This is a new era, right? Yeah. When have we ever had a blockbuster film come out the same day at home?
But in that same regard, you would have to pay. It's not like it's a new movie. You'd have to pay for it. Like, yeah, we'll get a larger cut for someone buying it versus this. But I mean, here and there. I think this has saved me from going to watch Space Jam 2 in theaters because I am not excited for this sequel nobody asked for. Space Jam 1's not even that good. Let's be honest. I think it's caught up in nostalgia more than anything. So Space Jam: A New Legacy is going to save. I love Bugs Bunny, I love Looney Tunes, but like it's just not for me, right? At the same time. And I think the other one that's probably closer to home for me is I just finished the book Dune. So now I get to watch Dune with all these famous actors in it at home without having to go spend whatever 2.5 hours in theaters for that too. I'm very excited to watch Dune.
Yeah, I mean, I hate, not having the theater going experience for kind of like the big fun moments. We reviewed Tenet just the other week, and I said I think I would have gotten a little bit more out of it if I was in front of a bigger screen. But at the same time, I love the ability to pause, go to the bathroom when I need to, refill up on my snacks, not have to deal with loud, noisy people. So I think people are being a little bit too hyperbolic when they say this is the death of theaters.
Right.
I do think a lot of them could close down and it could become a little bit more of a niche experience moving forward. But I feel like nothing has been able to replace that exact experience yet.
Yeah, and I think the other 3 movies we're about to mention will be stuff that I think we would cover on the show. As well. The first one here, it was scheduled for January, but it doesn't have a release date now, but they did say Mortal Kombat is coming out next year for us to watch, which
I feel like they've almost made a little bit of a backpedal with that, because some of the earlier trailers, the HBO Max trailer that announced this thing, I believe had a title card of Mortal Kombat in it. But I went to the official HBO Max YouTube page to find that trailer, and I don't think that title card's in there anymore. I was going through, I was taking screenshots of these title cards, so I don't know if maybe that one's still in limbo.
It is. If you go look up I put up the Variety link in here if anyone wants to look up the full list, because there's movies in here that we would never cover or watch, like Reminiscence or Malignant or King Richard. It's a sports drama. It's not for us. But Mortal Kombat is on that list. They just don't have a footage for us to watch yet, so they didn't put anything up yet. They're like, we'll wait a little bit. I'm gonna bury the lead on the last one. The Matrix 4, Mike, the movie we also didn't ask for, with Keanu Reeves returning to the Matrix. I want to know what the story is. I'm very in the dark on it. I'm very interested to see a fourth Matrix.
He was like the savior, the chosen one, right? I mean, did it work? Yeah. Did he save all of humankind?
And we're in the Keanu-sans. Anything with him in it right now is gold, right? I mean, I'm down to watch more Keanu Reeves, even if it has to be through the Matrix 4.
Yeah, I mean, did the machines just get a bunch of new graphics cards and they were able to, streamline their equipment?
More processors.
So now it's not. Yeah, so now it's just not a gigantic planet covered in servers. They're just like, no. Yeah. We went ahead and we read Wikipedia and we found out people, like Steve Jobs like to minimize and shrink things. So yeah, we shrunk it all down to about the size of a 2-family home. So yeah, let's see how this goes.
Yeah, so a lot of interest with the Matrix 4. But lastly, the biggest superhero movie from Warner Brothers, I think the only one next year, is the Suicide Squad from James Gunn.
Yeah.
That I really want to watch that in theater. So if things are better and back to normal by that point in the year, I'm definitely going to go. But I'm not going to be upset watching that at home again if I need to on repeat for that month as many times as we want.
Yeah, and if you're not worried about splitting hairs, Wonder Woman is going to be coming out at the very end of the year, just a couple days away from 2021. So I would say Wonder Woman is kind of unofficially kicking this off. Yeah,
exactly. And that was the big announcement several weeks ago, right? That was like, okay, we're going to do this. And then, I think the I guess people's reaction to it kind of dumped them all in. For that, but we're actually going to talk about that here in a second. I want us to go ahead and say, this creates a problem for you, Mike, as this app is not on Roku yet, so they need to solve that.
they're going to get I think they're going to figure out very quickly that they need to get this. I don't know if HBO Max is the one that's going to come in and be like, crap, we need to make sure this is available everywhere. I don't know if Roku's finally going to break and go, oh, HBO Max just kind of went from this, just average streaming service to probably the most talked about streaming service, even surpassing Netflix, at least for 24 hours with this news. So they're up there now. I mean, I think they already have one of the best catalogs, HBO Max does, but they just don't have the big shiny new objects yet that really attract people. But we just talked about a bunch of shiny new objects they're going to get. So yeah, this Roku deal's got to be sealed and signed off on. Tons of people stream content through Roku because the hardware is so cheap and so easy and accessible. That's why the adaption for that platform has been so wide.
They have an HBO app on there, so the technology works. We just don't know who's being the problem here. And again, like we said, could it be HBO not wanting to give in to whatever Roku wants, or Roku being like, you can't just put a free app on here and charge subscriptions anymore. Like, we need to see something.
It has something to do with like data sharing or something. I feel like every time somebody on the internet tries to act like they know what they're talking about, they always bring like, oh, like Hulu wants a share of their ad revenue or something like that. And it's just like, there's no ads on this streaming service. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. You might be close. You might be in the realm of some sort of like advertisement or data collection, but like nobody 100% knows. They just keep talking out their ass. So I just kind of sit back and wait for the mom and dad to stop fighting so I can watch HBO Max on Roku.
Someone figure it out. You're gonna have a lot of people switching to Amazon Fire TVs or Apple TVs if you don't figure that out, Roku. And that's not. I mean, most people have both, so it's really not a problem. But you probably want those people in your ecosystem. Probably before Christmas, if I was to be honest, because Wonder Woman 84 is coming on Christmas Day, along with Soul on Disney+. So Wonder Woman 84, early reviews are online. I saw these last night, Mike, so beware. If you want to go in clean and fresh, when was this movie supposed to come out? Earlier this year, right? Like almost a year ago, it feels like.
Yeah, it's been a while. I feel like, if I had to guess, I'm looking forward to a good experience. Patty Jenkins did a good job with Wonder Woman 1. The third act kind of unfortunately fell into kind of just very traditional superhero territory of just like one big CG battle at the end. So, hopefully we don't run into that again. I have to say they have been very reserved with Cheetah, right? This movie has been delayed almost
I think close to a year.
Yeah, it's been delayed for quite a while, and they've had every opportunity to dip into the Cheetah well to reinvigorate hype. And I have to say I'm happy that they haven't gone there yet. Now we've seen some like movie theater promotional art and some like popcorn buckets that have shown what she will look like, and I think we've seen some pretty like. We've seen some like quick stuff, but they haven't really delved deep into it. Well, so I'm happy to see
look in that summer trailer. But they're not. They haven't put any other trailers out.
Yeah, we don't know what the transformation looks like. We don't know if Kristen Wiig's just going to be stuck like that forever moving forward. Because I don't think she transforms in the comic books, does she? I think she's just stuck looking like a cheetah.
Yeah, as far as I know, she's permanent in the comic books, and they've kind of played coy on this one.
Yeah, we don't know exactly, how Pedro Pascal is going to play out. So they've done a good job keeping things as close to their chest as they can, all things considered. So I feel like I have a lot to watch. How the hell does Chris Pine come back into this? What's going on here? I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of questions, so stay away from those reviews if you can, so you don't get yourself ruined by anything. But also, a note, this month, December, HBO Max has removed their free trials. So there's no 7-day free trial anymore for HBO Max. Mm-hmm. They're doing this because they're giving you a shit ton of movies next year, and they don't want you making Gmail accounts for every one of those movies. They want your money if they're going to be making that investment. So, I know it sucks sometimes, but you know what you're getting on these now. There's no guessing when you go into them. Disney Plus did this before Hamilton came out. I don't know if you knew that earlier this year. So, you can't get a free trial of Disney Plus anymore. But they had a Fortnite thing. If you bought something in Fortnite, they gave you 2 free months or something. So that was kind of nice.
Well, what doesn't Fortnite do? I feel like if I start playing Fortnite, I'll dig up like a chest and I'll get like a free Papa John's gift card or something. Yeah. There's so much cross promotion in that game.
Yeah, the only thing I've seen cross promoted that isn't out yet is the Halo Infinite candies, and snacks. So I'm like, well, that game's delayed till whenever, but whatever. But speaking of, the only thing on this list that HBO Max did not tell us, give us a date for, is Justice League. However, in all this Warner Brothers stuff this week, he did say, the CEO confirmed that the film is coming out in a few months on the streaming service. So,
all right.
So, again, now Justice League has to compete with theater movies. Like, so, what are you doing with this 4-week show?
It already was a theater movie.
Yeah, right. I think that's fine. I think it's good. I mean, glad we're not waiting till next fall like we thought we kind of were going to have to for a while, right? Like, finally we can just get this out and get it over with and move on to the next thing.
Sounds like it might be in between quarter 1 and quarter 2, possibly.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this leads into the Suicide Squad, because I know a lot of people are hyped for it as well. So James Gunn does good stuff. Last bit of DC world stuff is the CW, right? They're still going on with some shows. David Ramsey, the guy who played Diggle in Arrow, is actually directing 5 episodes of these shows coming up this year, which includes Superman and Lois, The Flash, Supergirl, Batwoman, and Legends of Tomorrow.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. I like it when actors take up the reins of directing, and because usually they have a pretty good perspective. Most of the time I've seen this out there, like on IMDb. Like, oh, I'm watching a movie I really like. Oh, who directed this? What's going on? You look it up, like, oh, this person used to be an actor. Usually turns out pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, and especially because he was like in every episode of Arrow, right? Like, I don't think there was an Arrow episode Diggle wasn't in. But he will also be returning as Diggle and a mystery character. Now, did you watch the end of Arrow by chance?
No, I didn't.
So the last time we saw him, he had a green glowing box, and everyone thinks that he is, in fact, his real name is John Stewart, and he is possibly the Green Lantern of the CW universe. So that's what people think he's coming back as. Would you think they would be so bold, Berlanti, to let up another Green Lantern before he does his shows?
I mean, isn't kind of like the whole concept around this possible HBO Green Lantern show that it's going to focus on a couple different lanterns? I feel like that's the last word that we heard from that. So, if he just happens to be one of them, I think that might be kind of a fun tie back to the CW universe. I was just going to say real quick, since they were talking about him directing, that movie I talked about at the top of the show, Happiest Season, that is written and directed by... God, I don't know how to say her first name. Clea. Is that just Clay? Clea Duvall. And I know her as an actress originally. She was like in The Faculty, Argo, a lot of other things that I grew up watching. So, and she made a pretty good movie. So, I'm all on board.
Oh yeah, if you see that, as soon as I said Clea Duvall, I'm like, man, she is in The Faculty, and I was like. I remember from Zodiac, that really long movie.
Fincher's Zodiac?
Yeah,
No, was that Fincher?
Yeah. And Robert Downey Jr. I believe Mark Ruffalo was in as well. She's got that. She's got a face you recognize. You're like, yeah, you know who it is. That's cool. So I think the CW. I forgot these stuff was going on. So they want to bring some Green Lantern in to get some interest back in these. They're gonna have to, right?
Yeah, it seems like the CW might be time for another refresh, rebrand of the channel. I feel like the superhero stuff only has so many more years left over there on that network.
Well, if they do need a refresh and want to refresh this and keep this universe going, get rid of everything. They kind of are. Supergirl and Black Lightning stopping. Get rid of the Flash. Start over with a new group of C-level characters and see where it goes.
Yeah, just reboot it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. They just lost Supernatural, right? Too. So they're hurting for content right now, fresh content. I forgot to bring this up last week. I know we talked about it in the middle in our group chat, but because of all the news, everything going on, the Black Panther movie has a new intro to the film, added the Marvel intro that has been updated to have an homage to Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther since his passing.
Yeah, if you're not familiar, if you remember how the Marvel logo, it's just basically a camera kind of swooping around the words Marvel, and as you kind of approach the sides of the letters, you kind of you would usually see different clips from different movies, but now it's just all Chadwick. So I was like, that's really cool. That's nice. Like you said earlier with the holidays movies that made us, what's something that an editor sitting at home can just do? That's kind of cool. So that was pretty cool.
And they did it with, it's not just film stuff. They had behind the scenes footage, as an actor and a person, not just Black Panther. And I think they dropped it on his 44th birthday, I think, is when they updated it. So very, very nice homage, very nice update. And that's on the Disney Plus version of the film. You can go check that out and watch the movie. Stick around, watch the whole thing. Right now, Marvel is filming Hawkeye in New York, Mike, and we're getting set photos left and right, boom, 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 boom. So to do so, they start announcing some cast, and the first big casting announcement is that of Kate Bishop. I think we've been.
I thought you were going to say the dog because I was looking at a picture of it.
No. So we've been curious about this since they announced this back at Comic-Con last year, right? Who was going to do it? Who will be Kate Bishop, the young Avenger Hawkeye, pretty much, who played Hawkeye. So the biggest rumor forever was Bumblebee actress Haley Steinfeld, and she is in fact in this now. I think her Apple TV show maybe wrapped up or was canceled.
I think it's still going. She's probably just in between projects. Yeah. I just thought the announcement was pretty funny because I don't know exactly the timeline of which Haley Steinfeld Steinfeld. I keep sounding wrong because the way my mother would pronounce the show Seinfeld was Steinfeld. So I keep thinking I'm saying it wrong. But I remember I was online and I was like, I think you showed me the set photos that showed her on set with Jeremy Renner, in the subway, straight up. She's holding a bow. It's 100% confirmed just by this photo that she is indeed Kate Bishop. And then later that day, I feel like I saw it officially confirmed. Yeah. So I'm surprised Marvel waited that long. If you're out there shooting in public, somebody's going to see her. So
Marvel usually doesn't, unless it's at the beginning of a project, they don't announce anybody very, very soon after. But because they're filming, they did some other stuff. We'll talk about it. But I just want to say, we also get Lucky the pizza dog from the Matt Fraction run, which is all I've ever wanted. If they were going to do Matt Fraction, they have to have the dog. And they got Lucky the pizza dog. And you can see Hawkeye, this photo that they took just makes him look so cranky and grumpy. Hawkeye. So he looks like his mohawk's not there anymore. So he's back to his regular Hawkeye hair. So maybe some time has passed. We don't know how long since the in-game.
It'll be an interesting collision of narratives, right? Because Matt Fraction's Hawkeye was all about kind of him living in the city, kind of in a loft by himself, fighting low-level crime, something a regular dude with a bow and arrow could kind of solve. Think like Daredevil, but with less powers. And he was single. I don't believe he had a family, but knowing the long canon of Marvel, there's a chance that he could have had family 40 years ago that died in the comic books, and you just kind of forgot about it. But that being said, he very much established in this cinematic universe, he has a family. He loves them and he misses them very much. So it makes me think that in order for him to officially retire, right, he's going to have to go to the city and train this person to take up the mantle, or he's going to feel like he just can't relax, So that's what I think's happening here. So I don't think Hawkeye is really living in the city here, but I do like how you bring this up. I feel like every time we talk about Hawkeye, of what was he doing as Ronin in those mystery years, and maybe he did have a loft in half abandoned New York City, or I think is it Brooklyn? Is that where it is? I don't know exactly where it's set in the Fraction universe. So there could be a short stint where he was a bachelor, but he wouldn't have been a happy, a go-lucky bachelor kind of like he is in the comic books. He would have been very sad and depressed. But there is ways to kind of weave the narrative together there.
His time as Ronin could come back to haunt him. And he has, instead of being with his family, he has to go take care of it so they're not in danger anymore, kind of thing. So I think there's a couple ways they can do it. And, I don't know how Kate Bishop is going to tie into his story fully, but we'll be definitely keeping our eyes on this as we kind of do it. But the other confirmed cast for this show is because now they're filming, okay, here's our cast list, so no more surprises. The biggest draw here is Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova coming back from Black Widow. So my assumption is she survives through the movie now. So this is where we talk about maybe the shows might ruin the continuity. Maybe it's a flashback. I doubt it, but this is where we get a confirmation she probably lives through that movie to come back into this.
Yeah, I feel like this is almost kind of one of those things of the only people that are going to be really concerned or picking up on this news are people like you and me that really keep track of it. But also on the same edge here is we also know that Florence is kind of being set up to almost be a replacement for Black Widow. You know, it's not totally confirmed, but I was never kind of assuming or guessing that she could possibly die, but I guess it might deflate some dramatic sequences where maybe she could, could die. But
the whole point of that question is, where was she during Infinity War or Endgame if she was alive? In that, you know, like, you think
she was staying the hell away. She was like, I'm not going to go fight an alien. I don't have superpowers. I'm not stupid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so yeah, but also, you know, the Black Widow did die in that. So I don't know. We'll figure that out. But I think that's cool. She's coming back. Actress Vera Farmiga as Kate's mother. People think she's playing the character Madame Mask, as well, which is not canon. That's not Kate's mother, but could have replaced her maybe. Fra-Fee is his name. Fra-Fee as Kazi, who is known as Clown in the Fraction comic books. He shows up in like issue 4, I think. Tony Dalton as Swordsman, the guy who trained Hawkeye. The actors don't really matter. It's the characters are playing. And lastly, Alaqua, I think I'm probably butchering this. Alaqua Cox as Echo, who's a deaf character who can mimic movements of another person. So kind of like imagine a deaf Taskmaster, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, we're seeing some more deaf representation just because we just finished playing Miles Morales, and there was a supporting character that was deaf in that movie as well.
Hawkeye wears hearing aids in the Avengers books. Like, he's technically almost deaf in those books anyway, so maybe they bring that into this somehow.
Yeah, I feel like I just saw something on Twitter where Jeremy Renner on set was wearing a hearing aid in his ear, but I was almost thinking, does Jeremy Renner need a hearing aid? I mean, that could be a possibility. You don't have to be an elderly person to need a hearing assistant. So I wasn't sure if just that was Jeremy Renner or not. But also, it's like a movie set as well, and sometimes people just need those to kind of, you know, if they don't know their lines or, you know,
it could be action cues.
Yeah, if they need stage direction. So I don't know how much we can take from that set photo of a hearing aid in his ear, but yeah, it's very interesting. Stuff's happening. That's all I care about. Things are being made. As long as it's being made safely, no one's getting sick. I'm just glad that we have stuff to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is probably, to me, an Avenger getting his own show is one of the original Avengers getting his own show, right? Like, that's, I think, the biggest part about Hawkeye. Everyone's like, well, it's Hawkeye. I'm like, well, but he was literally in Thor and the Avengers, right? Scarlet Witch and Vision, they're getting theirs. They were Avengers. Bucky and the Falcon are getting theirs, but they're not original Avengers. So I think this is cool that an OG, he didn't get his own movie, but he's getting a show. So
yeah, and weirdly enough, a character without superpowers, I think, can make better television than a superhero can, right? Because when you're talking about superhero, you're talking about big action set pieces, you're talking about very, very high stakes, which fits so well with movies. But when you're talking about this lower level character, you know, I think a Hawkeye series is just going to fit really, really well episodically, and I'm looking forward to it.
Less effects heavy. I can't imagine how effects heavy this WandaVision is going to be for that. But that is January 15th. We are almost a month away. So, Hawkeye filming, Haley Steinfeld, Kate Bishop, awesome. On that note, this week, in the Avengers game, you get Kate Bishop as a playable character for free on 12/8. Again, this game has always made the promise any additional characters will be free of charge, and that is true. The first one is here. The next one is Hawkeye after that, and then I know they have Black Panther, War Machine, She-Hulk. There's a whole laundry list of characters adding. Gratis. So if you've got the game, picked it up on discount, maybe there'll probably be another one coming up here for the holidays. You can go get it. She's got a full skill tree. She's got missions. She's got teleport arrows, Mike, to move around the map a little bit. So
I think what the rumor out there in the world is that this game could possibly go free to play soon, because I think I think they're struggling to break even still.
Well, but it's a game as a service. Again, I think we've talked about this before. Like, they're never going to break even on initial sales. It's always the DLC or the concept. This is like how Destiny works, right? Like, they always put it out there and they add more stuff and you buy into it over time. But
correct me if I'm wrong, I can download Destiny and play it for free right now, right?
They went free to play 2 years later. Yeah. But you have to buy the extra content for it.
Yeah.
This one
all I'm saying is, if you're on the fence and you're not dying to play it right this second, you know, maybe wait a couple months. It could possibly pop up for free.
Yeah. But there are, if you do buy every character you'll get free. This isn't like this isn't a Fortnite or Call of Duty scenario where you're like, oh, you have to buy the battle pass or you have to buy the character. Like, you get them all. So it goes both ways for that. You probably find it probably secondhand pretty cheap if you want to give her the old go. Speaking of video games, Metal Gear Solid has added Oscar Isaac of Star Wars and Moon Knight fame to play Solid Snake in the upcoming film adaptation.
He is attached to everything, and I feel like get the other bullet point out of the way, Chris, because I have some emotions and feelings to process.
Perfect. This is directed by Jordan Vogt Roberts, who directed Kong Skull Island, another big property, and then also written by Derek Connolly, who also wrote Skull Island and the upcoming Jurassic World Dominion as well. Yes,
and if you check out that guy's IMDb, you will also see him credited as the most recent Star Wars film. What is it? The Rise of Skywalker? Is that the name of it again?
Yeah.
I keep forgetting it because I just can't keep track. But I believe truly he's credited as writing the unfilmed version, the first version of the script that he worked on with the guy who directed Jurassic World. I forgot his name.
Yeah. So he worked with Colin Trevorrow on Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and also The Rise of Skywalker, which never... I don't know how many of his beats saw the light of day, but he did work on the first draft of it.
Yeah. So I have so many mixed feelings, Chris.
Well, he also he also co-wrote, I was going to throw this in there as a bonus point, he co-wrote Detective Pikachu, which is another the best video game adaptation movie we've seen so far.
Yeah, that actually is a film that I did enjoy. So it's so weird because I have to say, just talking about Metal Gear Solid from a story point of view, just from the video games, man, is it crazy. It is not a very cohesive narrative. It's all over the place. If you try to track the through line for this character, through all of the games, the longer story arc, right? I saw some, I can't really complain that they're complaining because I'm a nerd just like them, but they were like, some people that upset that places like Variety and the Hollywood Reporter weren't reporting the story right. Like, oh, Oscar Isaac's not really playing Solid Snake. He's actually playing Big Boss, and they should be putting Big Boss in the title. And it's just like, it doesn't matter. Shut up. These video games make no sense to begin with.
So time out. Big Boss and Solid Snake is a clone of Big Boss. So technically, they're both right.
Yeah, but it's just that's the tip of the iceberg of trying to make sense of this narrative. So if I have to wind myself back, if I just look at it on a video game by video game basis, right? The original Metal Gear Solid that came out on the PlayStation 1 is one of the most iconic games of my childhood. This was like the first video game I ever played that kind of made me feel like an adult, made me feel like I was moving into a realm of video games that I've never touched before, because Kojima is very cinematic. It had, like, this video game has an opening credits scroll that you're scuba diving through, and the credits are still up on the screen when you're moving through the first kind of elevator kind of factory floor, when you're trying to sneak up the elevator, and then you get revealed the wintry snow tundra outside of this facility that you're trying to sneak into. So it's just so cinematic, and it's just grilled into my brain, and I've played it so many times, and it was like one of the first real involved games that I ever beat. When I was a kid, I didn't have a lot of attention to trying to complete a lot of these games on Super Nintendo and stuff, but man, once I got my PlayStation, it was a whole different game. But if you look at Metal Gear Solid, the video game on its own, the story's not too complicated, right? You can follow it, it's just there enough. So it's when you move on from there, right? It's when you get into Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, all of these different side video games. I tried to watch an explainer video on YouTube, like literally just a couple weeks ago, and it's like over an hour long, and it's so confusing. I can't keep up with it. And I know Kojima is very, very influenced by cinema itself, so it makes sense that eventually this game could become a film, right? So
one of them.
I'm actually kind of hoping Hollywood does what it always does and dumbs it down and makes it a little bit more coherent, right? I follow Jordan Vogt Roberts, the guy who's directing this film, over on Twitter, and he is in love with this video game franchise, right? He's always retweeting artwork, retweeting like these essays and videos on Metal Gear. He is all in this. So I totally trust that he's going to remain faithful, at least to the feeling and style of the video game. I actually kind of hope he just kind of updates the story a little bit, right? Make it something a little bit more coherent, something I can follow. Go ahead, throw clones in it, go as crazy as you want to get, but I hope he just builds a solid foundation to, if it gets turned into a whole franchise, the second movie and the third movie still also make sense, because that's not how those things go in the video games. But then I look at the writer, right? I mean, is Derek Connolly the type of guy that can handle this type of story? You know, you did mention Detective Pikachu, but I think Pokemon and Metal Gear Solid are kind of apples and oranges when it comes to video game narratives. You know, Jurassic World, a lot of people are split on that franchise. You know, it's fun schlock, but do we want Metal Gear Solid to be fun schlock? So I just don't know. I'm all over the place. So what I have decided to do, I think I decided this yesterday, is I'm just going to lower my expectations to the absolute ground. I'm just going to expect this movie to be awful, just a throwaway garbage that no one really wants to see. It's just going to be another video game adaptation that people are going to blink and forget about. And if I'm in that mindset, hopefully I can enjoy the movie when it comes out. Mm-hmm. But bringing it back around to the original news, Oscar Isaac, solid choice for Solid Snake, right? I mean, we love this guy over here at the podcast. We were super excited to see him as Moon Knight. He's one of the few things I like with the newer Star Wars trilogy that were released. I mean, this guy has nothing but a career ahead of him, right? He's in Dune, right?
Yeah, he's in Dune as Duke Leto Atreides.
Yeah, he's in everything. I mean, he's at the top of his game right now. His career is probably never going to be better than it is right now.
He voices Spider-Man 2099 at the end of Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah, that's right. He has max proliferation right now,
especially in nerd culture.
Yeah, I mean, if all of these, man, can you imagine if all of these things pop off well? If Moon Knight ends up being awesome, if Metal Gear is great, everybody loves this adaptation of Dune. I mean, he could be, I don't know what could he be the next, like, George Clooney? You know, is he like the next big person? Well, even George Clooney was able to make a stinker in Batman, and he still continued to be Hollywood's favorite everyman.
Well,
so, man, I'm pulling for Oscar Isaac.
I put him in a Josh Brolin category. Josh Brolin, he did some bad stuff. It was Jonah Hex, but he's always been around doing stuff. They were both in Coen Brothers films. One was Inside Llewyn Davis, and the other was in No Country for Old Men. Have kind of come back into superhero roles with Deadpool 2 and stuff like this. So I think there's an opportunity there for him to kind of take that and run with it. So the fun fact about all this is, because I've never played a Metal Gear game ever in my entire life. It's evaded me for some reason, not by choice. It's just never been something that I went to right away. But I've tried to follow the stuff online before. I'm like, if I want to get into this, where do I start? No, not even close to starting anywhere along the way.
The thing that's so difficult is so many new games have been made that go back in time, right? So the easiest era of Metal Gear Solid to explain is when the first couple games came out, because that's when things were still relatively simple, and it was just infiltrate this, defeat the bad guy because he has blueprints to build a bad nuclear warhead or something like that. But then they started making all these prequel games that added more and more to the story. So when you go online and you try to find like an official timeline, you're just thrown right into it. You're just like, there's this dude, his face is melted off, he wears like a funny hat and a trench coat, and he's doing all this crazy nutso butso stuff, and then you're halfway through the video until you get to the very first Metal Gear game that was on like a Nintendo. Not even like a Nintendo.
It was Nintendo.
Wasn't it? I thought it was like a Super Famicom or something like that.
Famicom is a Nintendo.
Oh, is that? Yeah, that what it was over there. So it's just like you have to like watch an hour of this explainer before you even get to the original game, and you're just like, oh my god. Well, so if anybody, no one in my right mind, nobody can defend the narrative for the Metal Gear universe. It's a mess, but you can easily defend the games because the gameplay is fun. So, Metal Gear Solid is a great place to start. That's the best place you want to start this narrative.
Well, so the whole point of this is just for people who don't know, much like myself, a Metal Gear is a walking bipedal robot, essentially, that can fire nuclear warheads.
Sometimes the coolest ones walk around and look like mechs, but there's some that look like just big tanks. Like if you go back in time, they get less fancy, but when you go forward in time, they get these weird like organic muscles and they look like cows.
But the whole point is nuclear warfare. Like the whole process is you're essentially kind of like a James Bond meets a Commando, trying to stop nuclear warfare from being portable at the end of the day, no matter which way you cut it. So that's the way I looked into it. I did dig a little deeper. So the director Jordan Vogt Roberts has been attached to this project since the middle of 2014. So he has been working on this and going through different writers. He's gone through, I think this is the second writer. I know you're concerned about his stuff, but like, this is the second writer, so he's evolving it. I don't think there's much of a problem with that. I mean, if they can get something off the ground, I think that'll be fine.
But what you want a nerd attached to this project, right? You don't want to see somebody like a Steven Spielberg or a J.J. Abrams get attached to this film as director, because I don't think for a second any of those guys have ever played this video game, or at least have the capacity to nerd out over a video game, right? So I'm glad that I know the director is all in. Yeah, exactly. Well, and this guy, Derek Connolly, has worked very closely. I think everything but one project he's done with Colin Trevorrow. So whether or not you like his work in Jurassic World or whatever, he did do the film Safety Not Guaranteed. Do you remember that one back with Aubrey Plaza? Yeah, so I do like that there are some kind of indie roots to him. Yeah, well, he's got at least, if he needs to ask for feedback, he's got people to feedback from. Like that's what I'm saying here. So, and looks like here just again he did. Thank God he did not do the final draft of Pacific Rim Uprising. He was asked to write it, but then they did the one by Steven S. DeKnight, because I really don't like that movie. But I don't know much about Metal Gear, but if they can get some producers involved who want to make a good movie, knock on wood. I am looking forward to the spoiler cast eventually for this film, because I'm going to have a background knowledge of it. You're just going to go in kind of fresh, just kind of knowing the general kind of landscape of Metal Gear, and it'll be fun to go back and forth. Robots and nuclear warheads. Yeah, there you go. Stealth. However you're going to show stealth on screen. Yeah. So he hides in a cardboard box. He was in Smash Brothers. I remember that. We're going to switch gears. Speaking of Star Wars, the goddamn crying shame. Star Wars Detours. I think we've talked about it since we've started this, because this show was made almost a decade ago. Made by the guys who do Robot Chicken in a CG anime style to be 12, or was it 6-minute episodes in a half-hour slot, parroting Star Wars in like a fun and pun kind of way, right? Using actual voice actors from the show. One full episode finally leaked online this week after almost 10 years of them shelving 2 seasons of this. And it's at Dexter Jettster's Diner, if you remember that, from episode 2. And it deals with the bounty hunters Forlom and Zuckuss, voiced by Weird Al Yankovic and Andy Richter, respectively. Oh, that's great. And how close, and the whole thing. Ahmed Best does Jar Jar Binks. What's his name does Lando Calrissian. Billy D. Williams. There's some other actors. This is a very fun animated show that's like PG Robot Chicken, if you will, set in Star Wars. I had this episode downloaded. They actually took it offline. They were asked to by a copyright claim from Disney, showing the legitimacy of this. But Disney won't release it, Mike. And did you get a chance to watch it before they took it down? Just a little bit of it, just enough to kind of see the aesthetics and kind of like the production value of it. Because when you say Robot Chicken, you think you're going to be getting like stop motion, but this is fully CG. Yeah. So when I see it leak, the first thing I think is, oh, this is intentional. Yeah. Whether it's intentional by Disney or maybe somebody that worked on the show, but I think somebody's just like, hey, a lot of people worked really hard to make 2 full seasons of this show. I'm going to put just a little bit of it out there to maybe just see if people like it. And hell yeah, I might be asked to take it down. But if there's enough people that respond well, at least maybe we can get it out there in the world. At the very least, maybe like a DVD box set, just so I can technically say this is something that I worked on. So this was released or announced in mid-2012, and then they made 39 episodes complete, and then they postponed it in the middle of 2013. I think that was in the middle of the Disney purchase, right? When they were about to do the get rid of all the canon. We're going to make Star Wars series. You can't make fun of our Star Wars characters anymore. The Family Guy stuff was done. The Robot Chicken stuff was done. We're about to bring all these movies back. So someone leaked this. Disney made him pull it down. Weird Al Yankovic acknowledged it on Twitter. So we've been sitting on this for 8
probably 9. They were probably working on it before they announced it, about 8-9 years. And this would be perfect, absolutely beautiful right now when we have no Star Wars content coming out, right? Nothing touching the original characters, to put on Disney Plus as something to just watch. Like, hey, the long lost Star Wars Detours, here you go. Maybe when the Mandalorian's over, probably because there's probably some stuff from there, some characters in there that are parody, but I think this would be beautiful to put on Disney Plus right now.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if there's maybe some sort of legal tie-up about it, right? Because it makes sense. Just throw it up on Disney Plus, just a couple clicks of a mouse to drag over something from a hard drive. Just tag the episodes accordingly, and you don't even have to let people know. You don't even have to put it on the newly arrived banner.
Yeah.
You could let people discover it. They would watch it, and it would just be content, and there you go. Makes me think, do they have to have something clear? Do they have to pay somebody before they get it streaming? Were the streaming rights ever negotiated when the show was created? Did they only have broadcast rights for it? So it just makes me think it's going to cost too much just to get a couple lawyers to figure this out. But I do agree, there's no reason this can't just be out there.
Yeah, 6-minute episodes is perfect. This is stuff, they could put these on YouTube, right? YouTube exclusive show, and watch them, and then put them on Disney Plus later as a collection. It's actually interesting. I think there's probably less legal rights here because it's made by Lucasfilm Animation, and owned by them. There was no distributor involved other than Lucasfilm, and I think maybe Fox at that time. But the Lucasfilm is known for making the Clone Wars movie and the Clone Wars TV show and Rebels. So that was what they were working on while they were making this. So that's some high quality. There's a high quality team there.
Yeah, and also, unfortunately, in the animation world, if you're familiar with the term above the line and below the line, people that are above the line, those are people that usually participate in profits of the show. And I believe there's a lot less people above the line in animation than there is in live action show. So it should, like you said, be even simpler to get something like this up on Disney Plus. But yeah, it's just kind of weird. Why are you sitting on this? Just, put it out there. You're in a streaming war. But yeah, it could possibly be maybe after Mando, right? After the Mandalorian wraps up, when are we going to be seeing more Star Wars? Really? Is it going to be just another year until we get the next season of Mandalorian? I know Obi-Wan's going to be shooting soon, but who knows when that's going to be done and airing?
Well, they never announced they were filming Mando season 2, right? It was just here a year later. Mm-hmm. So could they be filming now? Will that be filming next? I know for a fact what the hell's his name? The guy that we don't want to see the show of. What's from Rogue One?
What's his name?
This is how excited we are for this show.
I'm imagining Alan Tudyk as K2SO. The only thing memorable from that is the addition of the droid. But what does he say his name? He says
Cassian
his name.
Andor.
Cassian, that's right.
So Cassian Andor, because I want to say it's like Lando Calrissian, but rejumbled up. So that show's filming currently in England. So they could do this, but this show doesn't hurt anybody and it doesn't do anything offensive. It'd be perfect to live on there. Maybe even Hulu. If they want to put it on Hulu, put it on Hulu. I don't give a shit. This episode, this 6-minute episode, which they made them take down offline, is just full of great Star Wars fun and pun, and that's what I really want to see in some Star Wars right now. Don't take it seriously. Let's have some good times with it. And Weird Al as a voice actor is just fantastic in this. I never thought I'd want him with stuff, but
yeah, he's been voice acting for a while. He does a show. He does a kid show where he's the main character, but I forgot what it's called. Mm-hmm. It's not Phineas and Ferb, but it's something kind of like that. I don't know what it is, but. Yeah. Something with Moore's Law? No, not Moore's Law.
Moore's Law, less law.
Darwin, something.
We're gonna have to look this up now because I've got the wiki pulled up for Detours. Let me just click on it right here.
But I do know Weird Al. He's also done voice acting for BoJack Horseman. He's Mr. Peanut Butter's brother, dad, I think brother.
Mm-hmm. Milo Murphy's Law.
Murphy's Law. That's what it was. So yeah. Weird Al's great. He's a treasure.
Yeah. He's got a lot of stuff there. He also voices he wasn't voicing. He was in with the Batmite episode of Batman, but anyway, I think this show's great. If you can get a chance to go look on archive.org for this while it's still up, I recommend watching. It's 6 minutes. You're not gonna. This is shorter than a Quibi, so if that gives you any indication there.
It's a quick nibble. It's not even a bite.
No, not even. It's just a snack, a quick snack. Lastly, we're going to talk about the TV show Invincible, the animated show coming to Amazon based on the comic book by Robert Kirkman. They've added some new voice additions at CCXP. They announced them today. This voice cast is just lining up to be amazing, Mike. And these are the people I can recognize and pull out of a lineup. There's a lot more listed to this I didn't know, and I'm like, I don't want to put them in here. But like, we're getting Ezra Miller, Mahershala Ali, John Hamm, Clancy Brown, and Jimon Honshu as extra voice actors in this show right now.
Yeah, I mean, this does kind of make me wonder, is this like little kind of animated? I only say little just because like not a lot of people know about Invincible, and it's being animated, so that's probably going to mean it's going to get even less eyeballs than it was if it was live action. So this show, is it going to be really this premium, adding all these big names to it, or the side of my brain thinks that these actors are just looking for quick gigs during the pandemic, and their agents are just like, oh yeah, you can just voice this one character on this episode of this Amazon show just from your house. We'll send over a tech with a microphone, say a couple lines, and we'll get you paid. That's kind of where my brain goes.
I dare say this will be just as big as The Boys on Amazon.
Really?
Yep.
That's a big call out. I hope you're right.
I mean, Robert Kirkman, if he's not involved with it now, but if you look at The Walking Dead when it came out the first 3 years, right? Like that was the zeitgeist of the world. So much so that it's got 2 spinoffs now. He's still writing spinoff comic books, but like the main series is wrapped. So I mean, he does great stuff. This was purchased with a lot of other properties he did. But again, Invincible is a wrapped comic series, and adapting a comic to animation is pretty easy. At the end of the day, so I imagine this is going to be huge, and they got a large budget for it. Is what my assumption is.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I would love to see the zeitgeist change for animation, right? Because usually the only thing that ever gets wide is adult comedy animation. It's got to be funny and it's got to be raunchy, and that's the only way you're going to hit the masses. And this does seem like it is going to be mature in its tone, but there's definitely not a lot of comedic talent attached to this. This is more kind of a serious in tone. So if this could be the thing that changes it, it could be. I mean, I know Castlevania and that animation studio, Powerhouse Animation, has been making a lot of kind of adult action-oriented stuff that I think is doing pretty well over on Netflix. So hopefully we're hitting a new era over here.
Yeah, and the other thing is, it's kind of I think they rated R comic cartoon is what they're shooting for. So there's a full. I mean, if you go look at the list on the Wikipedia, it's just huge. But the other cast announced previously is Stephen Yeun from The Walking Dead. He played Glenn, is the main character, and J.K. Simmons is his father. So from the trailer we watched earlier this year, actress Sandra Oh, Mark Hamill, Seth Rogen, Jillian Jacobs, Zazie Beetz, Walton Goggins, Carrie Payton, Zachary Quinto, just to name a few of this. And this is just lining up to be huge. I even see when I went over to the Wikipedia page here, I see even more Mae Whitman, Lauren Cohan, Sonequa Martin Green, who is currently in that Star Trek show, which is doing really well. So you could go take a look at all this stuff on the Wikipedia page for Invincible. But I mean, I'm just impressed with the number of people they're adding to this. They say it's only 8 episodes right now, but I mean, I'd be surprised if they don't go ahead and just do all like 2 or 3 seasons back to back.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a streaming service, it seems like you greenlight everything that's animation right now, right? It's the only thing that can really be made super safely.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, that they've been Seth Rogen's group has been working on this since probably 2017, I think. So I don't think this is a reaction to the pandemic, but if they got extra budget towards it, go ahead and finish it off. We got a couple voices we got to record before we get this out there. Let's just reach out to the people that we'd love to be in it, and let's see if they get back to us. Yeah, sign us up. We'll do voice work. Very, very cheap, very affordable. You can hire us. But Mike, that's the show this week. I've got people who have probably cut my internet off here in a minute, so we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, literally. There's a tech outside.
Yeah, so some. I mean, living in a house, man. The joys of home ownership. You're gonna find stuff doing crazy stuff. So let's go do that. Mike, people know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. I'm working on a pretty tight, if you will, gingerbread house right now. It's a couple days process. I made the gingerbread last night. I made some freaking isomalt windows, if you know what that is out there, people.
Oh,
melted sugar for transparent windows.
I've watched enough Great British Bake Off to know what some isomalt is.
I'm going to be doing some flooding icing here right after the show, and hopefully assembly will go smoothly. Check out that on maybe Monday or Tuesday. That'll be done, but I'm taking my time. So you can find me over at Mike Royer Design. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, see what you're doing, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, or Instagram, Valdan87. I've got a pretty kick-ass gingerbread castle I'm working on, if you will. I believe I shared with you what that was, right?
I don't think you did, actually.
Oh, well, I'm going to have to tell you here after the show, and maybe I'll put some pictures up of it later, maybe make it this week to get ready for the holidays. You also head over there, play with me online, video games, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, what have you. Do that. People want to know more about the show, our episodes, our reviews. We've recently done of Tenet, New Mutants, finally, some other new content, and get ready for Wonder Woman. Where can they find all that good stuff at?
Oh, all you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. So if you want to, if you want to pop on over there, see that Variety article for all the Warner Brothers stuff that's coming out next year, the set photos of Hawkeye, we got that over in there in our show notes. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. Please reach out and let us know what you're vibing on about the show. What are your Metal Gear Solid opinions? I would be shocked if there's a lot of people out there that knows the entire continuity and story of Metal Gear, because that just requires a lot of attention, a lot of work. And even if you played all the games, I guarantee that you do not know the whole story, because it's insane. Because you're going to have like a PSP too to get some of that backstory, which is kind of insane. So reach out and let us know what you think. And if you want to be a super fan of the show, it's so easy to do. All you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, make sure you're wearing your mask and quarantining, and we'll be here every week, folks. It's almost Wonder Woman time. I'm excited.
Oh, yes, that time of year, the most wonderful time of the year, Mike. And don't forget the movie Soul. We're going to do one on that, because someone reminded me this week that Trent Reznor did the music for this movie. And I would, you never guess looking at it, but I'm excited. So you know how I feel. He did Watchmen. People watch Watchmen. So we'll catch you guys next week.
See ya.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
They closed it down for like 7 hours. But they only did that so that you couldn't get the leaks. All the new files were in a whole different download, so the people couldn't data mine it. But I've been noticing a lot more like ray tracing stuff. So, all right, yeah, let's do it.